friends got a story to tell about a young man folks thought they knew so well. Rumors, lies, and all things between. Yeah, they were blind to what they didn't want to see. You can't be a prophet in your own town. Can't climb a ladder when folks keep putting you down. No, you can't be a prophet in your hometown. Takes a bucket load of courage, leave the world behind, in a basket full of effort and a strong-willed mind. Despite the aspersions, he took a leap of faith, and he made his own way to a brand new place. No, you can't be a prophet in your hometown. Can't climb a ladder when the rumors keep bringing you down. No, you can't be a prophet in your hometown.
Today's show is sponsored by Farmer Joe's Fresh Market, located at 1401 Southwest Pine Island Road in beautiful Cape Coral, Florida. You will love the savings this week. The sales on boneless ribeye steaks, $14.99 a pound. Chicken wings, $2.99 a pound. Braveheart London broils, $7.99 a pound. And don't forget to grab a couple of sweet mini watermelons, 2 for $4. Everything you need and more. Lee County's greatest grocery store, Farmer Joe's Fresh Market. Are you shopping for quality marble? Do yourself a favor and call International Marble at 239-878-2200. Family owned and operated, servicing Southwest Florida, offering quality craftsmanship at competitive prices. Make your marble dreams come true. International Marble, 239-878-2200, 239-878-2200. We have the multi-talented Mr. Ford O'Connell with us. Ford is an author, businessman, veteran political analyst, professor, and attorney. You can find Ford at FordO'Connell.com, Ford O'Connell on X, and often on Fox News, Newsmax, and most reputable news sources. Welcome to the Crack Culture Podcast. I am Smokin Joe. Ford, President Trump spoke to the joint session of Congress, and he didn't disappoint. It was a great time. It was very entertaining watch. But what really blew me is the Democrats have absolutely no understanding of reality. For it was horrible to see how they never stood up. They didn't clap for nothing. It was appalling for them.
Well, this is the party that talks about compassion, and yet they couldn't stand up and clap for a 13-year-old brain cancer survivor who became an honorary member of the Secret Service. They couldn't stand up for a hostage that Joe Biden couldn't get back from Russia in 4 years, but Trump was able to do it in 4 weeks. This isn't about politics. These are unifying American moments. And what the Democrats show you over and over is that they hate Trump more than they love America.
The Democrats seem to have no desire to unify America. And on certain items, like you said, the little kid DJ, the items that everybody should come together on, they just absolutely refuse. Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, what a disgusting display of what's wrong with the Democratic Party. President Trump, on the amount of money we have sent to Ukraine, and the Democrats applauded this wasteful spending. Here's a clip of Pocahontas and Trump's reply. Check this out.
I'm also working tirelessly to end the savage conflict in Ukraine. Millions of Ukrainians and Russians have been needlessly killed or wounded in this horrific and brutal conflict with no end in sight. The United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense with no security, with no anything. Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah, you would say Pocahontas says yes.
Ford, you can't make it up. It's just absolutely idiocracy. And I mean, it even started out rough with Al Green. I mean, what a joke.
Well, look, here's the crazy part about Elizabeth Warren and the Democrats. They don't want peace only because Donald Trump wants peace. When you look at the latest Harvard-Harris poll, more than 70% of Americans want the Ukraine-Russia war to end right now. And yet the Democrats want to continue spending money on it because they like the military-industrial complex. And when it comes to Representative Al Green of Texas, he made history for all the wrong reasons. He is the first member of Congress in the history of America to be thrown out during a presidential address by the House Sergeant of Arms. Not exactly the kind of history you want to make. Democrats want to talk about the price of eggs when the speech ended, and all they could force to talk about was Green's appalling behavior.
Well, I have a clip when the speaker removed Democratic Representative Al Green. Let's play that for him.
Small business optimism saw its single largest 1-month gain ever recorded, a 41-point jump.
Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant at Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
Come and take me, here I am, baby. You come and take me by the hand. Oh, show me, here I am.
Yeah, Ford, that was Al Green. I had to have a little fun with him taking Al out, but you know, he was screaming, "You've got no mandate, you've got no mandate." And you know, he was complaining because most of his constituents have lived off of the welfare dollar for years.
Well, look, it's appalling antics. Let's ever since this happened, actually, Al Green has been censured by the House of Representatives. He's the 28th member of Congress to ever be censured. That's how ridiculous it was. But let me ask you this. How are you going to gain back the American people's trust when you actually, all you do is just resist Trump, particularly on issues where 70-80% of America agree with Trump? This is why the Democrats are living in a delusion. And I honestly say this over and over. For some people like Al Green, Trump derangement syndrome appears to be a terminal disease.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, you know, I don't think a lot of these Democrat politicians, they're not really concerned with what the actual policy is. They're concerned with making a show of their office. They want to, well, Al Green got thrown out because he's fighting for us to keep our welfare checks. You know, it's just ridiculous, the show, dog and pony show they put on it. And it's time for them to start facing, we are in a terrible situation because of their leadership over the last 4 years, and it's about damn time we had somebody like Trump, a businessman, come in and set it straight for the United States citizens.
Well, and this is why this was one of his best and most impactful speeches as president. He outmaneuvered the Democrats with ease, using humor and wit. But I think the key to the speech was the substance. Trump brought the receipts when it came to government waste. Honestly, who thinks we should be spending money on transgendered mice? I promise you, probably 99% of Americans say that's absolutely dumb. He also brought the receipts on Biden's manufactured border crisis. You didn't need a new law. All you just needed was a president who was actually going to enforce the law. And, you know, the problem with the Democrats was they're so out of step with what the American people want because their governance was so bad over the last 4 years. The American people are just hungry for leadership, and that's what Donald Trump's giving them.
Yeah, I agree. Overall, Ford, what were the other numbers on President Trump's address? How did the people take it? What are the statistics? Was the people loving it, hating it, mediocre? What do we got, Ford?
They loved it. According to a CNN poll, nearly 70% of folks who watched the speech had a positive reaction to it. And even better, according to CBS, 76% of those who watched the speech approved of it. Numbers, you don't get any better than that, and that's why the Democrats are still smarting. In fact, as we speak, the Democrats are having a leadership meeting on how they go forward. Unfortunately, none of them seem to understand that resisting Trump at every turn is not going to return you to power. And if they don't find a way to get forward, this Al Green thing that you keep showing, this is probably the best political ad Republicans could run in the 2026 midterms. And in fact, I think it probably is going to wind up costing the Democrats 4 to 5 seats in the House.
I agree. Well, let's talk about the latest on President Trump's fourth favorite word, tariffs. What's going on with the tariffs as we sit here today, Ford?
It's a very fluid situation. And a lot of Americans, are on a learning curve when it comes to tariffs. Tariffs used to be popular in the 1980s and early 1990s before we signed the North American Free Trade Agreement, which unfortunately decimated more than 90,000 plants and factories across America and outsourced jobs. What Trump is trying to do with these tariffs, whether it's Canada, Mexico, or China, is he wants to bring back jobs to America. He wants to increase America's economic growth, and he wants to bring down prices. Unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit of a push and pull, but the president had admitted that in his speech. He says, stick with me because you want to know what? We're going to win this battle. And he's right. In fact, the United Auto Workers Union agrees with President Trump and supports the tariffs he's putting on Canada and Mexico as well as China.
Well, speaking about the tariffs in Canada, there's a lot of Canadians, especially from Alberta and those areas, that have come to address Trump. They're tired of Trudeau, and it looks like pretty much the Canadian people are done with their Trudeau being part of the parliament.
Well, they should be done with Trudeau. He's terrible, but unfortunately, they have Trump derangement syndrome too. And because Trudeau says stupid things to Trump, his popularity has actually gone back up after they were going to throw him out of office. I think what's important for a lot of viewers to understand is when America sells a car into Canada, the Canadians add 45% tax on it. Well, if you have a 45% tax on a Ford, who's going to buy it in Canada? The answer is no one. And that's the whole point. See, we talk about fair trade. The problem is it's not fair. We're running a trade deficit with Canada and Mexico. And what people don't understand is Canada and Mexico depend more on the United States than the United States depends on them. And that is why Trump is going to be successful at the end of this trade war, though it might get a little messy.
Well, and you say that, and a lot of people that follow the left media, they believe that it's going to be so devastating to America if we put tariffs on Canada and Mexico. But realistically, I honestly believe if we enact tariffs on Canada, they're going to find out how much they need the United States, because the Canada will end up being like the Philippines or even like Honduras or somewhere. It's going to be third world if we tariff them.
Yeah, Canada's our number one trading partner, and we're actually running, I think, as of the latest numbers, a $50 billion trade deficit with them each year. They depend on the United States. And frankly, if we stop trading with Canada and we stopped importing their goods, basically the country would go bankrupt. So let's be honest. They are America's northern asshat.
No, I agree. And as a person in agriculture in Florida, I hope they tariff Mexico. I'm tired of them flooding our borders with cheap produce and costing us farmers our livelihood.
And I think that that's a great point. And I think a lot of people don't know that is that Mexico, unfortunately, we've outsourced our agriculture to Mexico. And when you talk about food security and food supply, yes, we want to be good partners with Canada and Mexico because in a lot of ways we have to live together. But we don't want to get into a situation with Mexico like we did with China when it came to the drugs. And we have a pandemic and then all of a sudden we have to be nice to China, even though they created the disease, because we actually have to get medicine from them. Do not be dependent on any one country for something that vital. And I think that's an important point when it comes to national security and what you're talking about with agriculture, food security.
Absolutely. Well, Ford, is about that time everybody waits for.
The man's trash.
The part was how they were saying, literally, a hurricane could take your home away, but the man's trash. I mean, that is unbelievable.
The man's trash.
Man's trash. I mean, man's trash.
For last show, we were discussing the Lee County School District on the man's trash and them entering into a contract with Ballard Partners to lobby for the district. I went and attended the school board meeting and spoke, and as usual, the board tries to act like what I'm saying is untrue. It just seemed like they never learned. If I come to talk about something at one of those meetings, I will be able to prove what I'm saying. I always bring the receipts forward. And before we talk about it, I want to play this clip where after I'd spoke and told how the ties, this Ballard Associated tied to the Millerites and the board and everything, and what a conflict it was. I want to play a clip when Denise Carlin, the superintendent, tells school board member Debbie Jordan that Ballard contract has nothing to do with anyone in Lee County. Let's watch this.
We now address pulled item G3. Dr. Carlin, whenever you're ready, please read your recommendation for the pulled item G3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My recommendation is approval of the contract for professional services with Ballard Partners to provide federal legislative service to the board, including legislative and governmental relations activities assistance for the school district of Lee County during the period of March 5, 2025 to March 5, 2026. The estimated expenditure of $180,000 is for the one-year contract period. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Thank you, Dr. Carlin. Is there a motion to adopt Dr. Carlin's recommendation?
I'll make the motion to adopt the recommendation.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Ribble, second Ms. Langford Fleming. Do we have any discussion? Proceed, Ms. Jordan.
Thank you. I just wanted to hear the correct amount because I know there was another amount that was stated, so I wanted to make sure that that amount was out there of the correct amount that is on this contract. And then that also wanted to make sure that from my understanding and conversation that I had is that Fort Myers has nothing to do with Ballard, and Fort Myers does not have anything to do with this contract. Anyone working in Fort Myers does not have anything to do with this contract.
That is correct. That is a provision in the contract.
Okay, so the people that we are hiring for this is for the people who work out of Washington, and there are certain individuals that we are looking to take care of the district, correct?
This is is that on? This is a contract for federal lobbying. That is correct.
Federal lobbying. So it's
Correct.
Tracy Pugh and another
Yes, the other
person
gentleman.
that we had
Yes.
spoke about.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to clarify that.
Ford, what you just seen right there was absolute BS at its finest. Okay, first off, we don't need much federal lobbying. We get very little federally. And Denise Carlin, as far as lobbying, she's an elected official. She is a direct source to the government. She can pick up the phone and call the governor. All right. And so she stated, and you heard her say that nobody in Fort Myers, connected to Fort Myers, would be a part of the agreement with Ballard Associates. Well, I just want to ask you, here's a copy of the agreement right here. And who is the representative for Ballard Partners? It's right there, clear as can be. Ford, who's on that document?
Dane Eagle, who actually happened to represent in the State House portions of Lee County. So the answer is, doesn't appear to be that no one in Fort Myers or Lee County is part of this deal. So you're starting to wonder, now, may be true about federal lobbying, but it's starting to wonder how much of this is more of a local connection to get money out of the school board than it is in terms of actually executing what the intended stated goal is, which is Washington, D.C.
Well, Ford is appalling. I don't know. And like I asked them, how do y'all come up with what y'all going to throw at us next? Do y'all sit over at Armour's drinking dum-dum juice and play rock, paper, scissors? It's incredible to me what they expect these citizens to just think is good for them.
Well, I have two questions about this, and this is a little bit in the weeds. My two questions are simple. Do you still have the other gentleman who's apparently got a lobbying contract for Tallahassee on there? I get your point that the superintendent should be able to call the governor. My question is, okay, why do you need a federal lobbyist? Not saying Ballard Partners isn't good, because I've told you they're one of the top lobbying houses. My question is, why do you need a federal lobbyist? And why didn't, and if you needed one, why didn't you have one before? I think that are the two key questions.
Well, and my thing is, I'm not bashing Ballard Associates as a company. What I'm saying is when Ballard started and they connected with the Cabal here in Lee County, then that part of Ballard Associates, whatever they do in Washington, that's something different. But what's going on right here locally is appalling, and it just gives more control to Terry Miller and everything. If you look at the news, everything bad, and as Trump said, like how DEI turns to SHIT, everything Terry Miller really turns to that for Lee County residents for.
Well, I think that's exactly right. I think your point about Terry Miller being the Southwest Florida representative along with Dane Eagle for Ballard Partners, and the fact that they're the cabal that have, not done great things for Lee County. In fact, driven it into the ground with their ridiculous politics and self-dealing. The question is how seriously we would take this Ballard contract, because we are talking about, Terry Miller and Dane Eagle. So I think that's the real point that you're trying to make is, why would you give a contract to Terry Miller and Dane Eagle when, in fact, they're already running Lee County only to make sure that they drive it even further into the ground?
Well, and the only thing that I can say that is it'll be noted by the amount of people that is connected to Terry Miller Strategy Company that are levied into higher paying positions within the county and the local governments. Because it's already happening in the school district. It, like I said, people's really got to wake up. They're not working for us.
Well, and it borderlines also on public corruption, because it seems to be that what Terry Miller's doing is providing a jobs program for his business associates and friends, and does not seem to be at the betterment of the folks and the constituents of Lee County.
And I have no idea what Ballard Associates possibly can do, giving them that amount of money. Now, I might add, that initial payment was $270,000, and the school board member Debbie Jordan confirmed that switched like a 5 o'clock at night deal. When they went into that meeting, most of them school board members still thought it was $270,000. Debbie Jordan was actually shocked when she found the number had lowered overnight, it seemed like.
Yeah, well, that obviously appears to be moving the goalpost, but I think maybe, you bringing this up, and as well as others, might have now actually sparked the new front wave of the Lee County wing of the Doge movement. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Joe, you need to be the captain of the Doge movement in Lee County.
No, I think we do need somebody to come in here and really look into what's going on. That's 100%. And it's not Kevin Carnes. There's nobody that's connected with this local cabal. We need an outside anybody. I don't care if they bring them. Elon can bring somebody from Mars. As long as they've got to be better than what we've got now.
Well, I think somebody from Mars could see through the, how shall I say, poop that is being shoveled by some of these people.
Well, Ford, I want to talk about another, and Terry Miller's hand is going to be in this. Residents of Alva and North Olga's fate was sealed on March 5th when Lee County Commissioners voted unanimously to approve a land use change from agriculture to residential, bringing on the development of 305 acres to build 1,099 homes by Neal Property. If you don't know, Neal is very connected to our Commissioner Greenwell. And, it's appalling what they're doing. Some of the residents from Alva have actually come in and protest riding horses in downtown Fort Myers because they said, one of them stated, Commissioner Greenwell says Alva ain't rural. Let's show him. They're begging people to bring their tractors, their farm implements, and just ride around the courthouse downtown and show them that, Alva's rural.
And that's exactly right. I've spent a lot of time in Alva, and I will tell you the one thing the folks in Alva do like is their rural atmosphere. They like their privacy, and they want to be left alone. And we knew for years that this was what Mike Greenwell wanted to do. I think it's why he ran for county commissioner. Let's be honest about the whole thing. He always wanted to take that designated land use, flip it into apartments, whatever it may be, a shopping center, just so he could line his own pockets and destroy the rural charm of Alva, because it was all about Mike Greenwell getting rich. And that's really what it all comes down to. And I mean, you could see this coming from a mile away. You know, the other thing that's criminal to me is how land just in general in Florida can be designated as sort of a rural area, a wetland, whatever it may be, something a lot easier to get passed by the commission. Then all of a sudden they find some loophole every single time to flip it, versus actually going in there and say, you know what, originally we're going to build a shopping center. It's so much easier to graduate into that than it is to actually go before and ask people for that. Why? Because people love a little term called smart growth. And what happens in Lee County is they abuse that word over and over because people like to hear it. And what they wind up doing is destroying Lee County by backdooring it.
I 100% agree. And like I said, we have been fighting a good fight, hard fight to try to get a little bit of traction locally. And, you know, I have to say that I am happy that there is an outpouring of people talking about what's going on with the council and what's happening in Alva. You know, those things are important to people like me in agriculture, because the less land that's available to us, then the less product we're going to put on your grocery store shelves. It's just as simple as that. You take away the land, you're taking away our ability to feed you.
Your ability to feed you, and then it goes even more into Mexico. Look at that, robbing Peter to pay Paul so no one eats. Look, if everything I've said about Mike Greenwell is wrong, I would love for him to come on this show. I'm a big fan of Mike Greenwell, the baseball player, when he played for the Red Sox. I am not a big fan of Mike Greenwell, the businessman and county commissioner, because I think he's not looking out for the community that he was raised in and thrived in. I think he's actually destroying it. Why? For a little green.
And you know, look, I don't have personal issues. I've known Mike before he was in politics. I mean, he's a good friend with some friends of mine, and we've been in the same circles. We ran the same circles. But the one thing I'll say, what is Mike doing it for? And is it to leave a legacy, or is it just to take care of his family? Because, look, let's face it, you know, it's already out that Mr. Greenwell is not in the best of health. So why do you destroy what little bit of paradise is left, and you want that to be your legacy? It makes no sense to me, Ford.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. I'm not attacking his character. I'm attacking what he's doing when it comes to flipping this land back so that he can make a lot of money and, you know, likely destroy the very character of Alva, the area that he lives in, or right nearby. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of them live in that area. A lot of these commissioners have properties in this area, so they didn't have to live in the city in there where they're actually destroying. Now they've moved out and they're destroying the areas where they bought into.
It sounds a lot like the boll weevil.
Well, Ford, I'm going to wrap it up for today. I appreciate you spending time with us. I know you got other places to be right now. Anything coming up we need to be looking forward to with you, Ford?
I honestly think we're going to have a little push and pull with these tariffs. I think that that's very important. And you know what? Next week, it's a new week. Got to keep fighting, because let me tell you something. The Democrats aren't going to give you an inch, particularly in federal politics.
That's 100%. Well, I'm going to continue to put out every information I can to Lee County on what is going on within your government. And I also want to take this time. We have had a great abundance of people start following the show forward here rapidly about some of our comments, and all the new followers, subscribers, and the people on other platforms that are sharing our videos. We do appreciate it. And without you, it wouldn't be no purpose in me and Ford being here. We want to thank you for that. Ford, my friend, as usual, man, I always enjoy our time together, and I hope to see you again soon, brother.
You got it, my friend.
For Ford O'Connell, Smokin Joe, and the Cracker Culture Podcast, we love you, Florida. Love, peace, and gator grease. We'll see you next time.